Peace, God.
Hey,
This is for educational purposes, and this is also National Archive for the nation of gods and earths, so that the young generation can always know their history and whatnot, and the greatness that we all came from. Interviewing you, no other reason at all. I don't want any rewards, no flan clubs, or none of that. You know what I'm saying, God? What's your name, God?
I got a lot.
Okay. And how did you get the name like that, I God?
The first man's name was Amin. And the father, I was incarcerated. And I got word to the father saying, get rid of all Muslim names. So I changed my name to I God. Just I. You know, the ninth letter in the alphabet. And then I felt that was too egotistical. So I changed it from I to E-Y-E. Because of the things I saw in my life. So that's why I changed it to E-Y-E God.
That's peace, God. Now, you go way back, God, and there's a lot of legends about the Harlem Six. There's a store that's right on 2 blocks away, and some kind of revolutionary, political revolutionary. I'm gonna give you a quote. And they have a pamphlet on the Harlem Six. It's a pamphlet by a Jewish woman who wrote this many years ago, when it was around the time that y'all was going through all that. And it's still published. She, I think, passed away some time ago, but her publication is still being published right in that revolutionary bookstore. Before you, it's between 7th and Lenox in a it's in a bookstore. I'll take you by there too, because it's right there. Matter of fact, I'm telling you from experience, because I bought it, you know. And I didn't tell them that I knew you, but it was deep though. They mentioned a couple of your buddies' names too. Malik, he's mentioned in there. All right, God, so could you take us back to when you first got knowledge, way before the 5% nation had God? Could you take us back so that we can perhaps learn about the atmosphere of Mecca at that time, and where the consciousness was amongst the people, and how you got involved with the knowledge yourself? Could you take us back, please?
It was about 1962 or 1963. We had got in contact with knowledge through older brothers that was in our block in 129th Street between Lenox and 7th Avenue. They were Muslims, and they started teaching us Islam. So this is when we started learning about Islam.
And what form of Islam was this?
This was under the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they invited us to go to the mosque, number 7 in 116th Street. We went to the mosque, and the one we heard speaking was Minister Malcolm X. Malcolm was speaking on the mothership. Malcolm went so high, above my head about the mothership, because the only ships I knew about was airplanes. He started telling about a big plane in the sky with blue airplanes. Had me so spooky that when I came out to Mars, I was ducking behind buildings, looking up in the sky, waiting for something to come out the sky. It was very spooky to me. Then we got into, at that time, it wasn't even considered that the black man was God. That was, no, it wasn't even thought of. It was just that God was no spook. God was not in the sky. At that time, they were advocating a man called Master Prophet Muhammad was supposed to be Allah. The atmosphere at that time was, I couldn't call another black man brother because he'll look at me and say, you ain't my brother, my mother ain't your mother, my father ain't your father, and you ain't my brother. You couldn't call a black woman sister. She'll tell you in a minute, I'm not your sister. You couldn't call them black because black was an insult at that time. There was everything but black. They were everything but black. They were colored. They wanted to be colored. They wanted to be Indian. Everything but black. If you called them black, it was like an insult to them at that date and time. This was in 1963 and 62 when Martin Luther King was out there getting people all beat upside the head and dogs biting them and all that. This is when knowledge came to us about, some kind of self-pride and self-dignity about ourselves. Instead of letting people beat on us and dogs bite us, we turn around and we fight them with a little bit of karate we learned. Couldn't tell me nothing, because I thought sneaking at you in a minute, or a shuto, or a snap kick at you. And our main practice at that time was homosexual. We practiced on homosexual. Anytime we see them coming down the street, we would get our little karate stance on and throw punches at them, kicks at them. Because all of them was paid. All of them was on 125th Street at that time, 8th Avenue. They used to come down through the neighborhood, switching and talking loud. And we should jump out and kick them and beat them up. But that was our main focus of practicing our martial art. Then we caught a lot of slack from the police. We are practicing our martial art. We be in the park, they come in the park and tell us to leave out the park. We be in the block sitting on the stoop and they come in there and tell us to get off the stoop. We be on the roof with our pigeons and they tell us you can't be on the roof. So we say, where you want us to go? And them being smart and racist, they would say, go back to Africa. We look at them and say, give me car fare. I'll gladly go. And that started a lot of dislike of the police about us because we wouldn't fade back and scratch our heads, wouldn't scratch our butt. We stand in front of them and tell them a lot of the guards, come on with it, lollipop, and square off on them, and we get ready to fight them. And they didn't like that at all. So at that time, it was their whole plot, their whole plan, get rid of those little black guys because we could see them coming up, being somebody and being a force to be reckoned with. At that date and time, that's what I now can consider, that's what was going through their mind. Because they used to always come around and harass us. Get in the car, we want to take you to the precinct and question you. Question me about what? Question us about some white people getting beat up, or some white man got stabbed. Anything that happened to anybody other than somebody black, they would come and mess with us about it because they seen us practicing martial arts, and they knew we knew Islam. So way back then, it was a thing about them plotting that terrorist attack and all that. Way back then. I couldn't see it then. But now that I look at it, it was a plan. But the devil had a plan, Allah had a plan. But Allah is the best of plans. That's why he told us at that time to get rid of all Muslim names so that we would not be involved in the confusion of that today. That's how broad his scope was in seeing how things work. But now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, what would be your next question?
Yes, sir. Okay, now, when you first got knowledge, right, in the mosque under the teachings of Elijah Muhammad from the minister Malcolm X, what happened with the Harlem 6 thing? What was the real story about that?
Well,
You and those other great brothers.
the Harlem 6 came about after we got arrested. There was a murder, attempt murder, and attempt robbery that took place on 125th Street and 5th Avenue, April 29, 1964. And they came in 129th Street looking for us for it because they said there were 6 young black men that were seen running out of the store. So why did that have to be us? Out of the whole world of black people, why did that have to be us? So they came in the block and arrested somebody that used to hang with us by the name of Robert Bond. At that time, his name was Akbar. And they arrested him. And, Rahiem, they gonna want the Harlem 6 too.
Peace,
Remember.
peace.
Peace, God.
You all
Peace,
right?
God. All right, man.
Okay, so
Sit down here, man.
peace, brother. We just talked you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked you up. This is an interview, right, brother, for archive purposes. For archive purposes, right, of the nation of gods and earths, and this is an educational piece for the younger generation, right, of children that are coming to become a part of this nation. So I was asking your brother and whatnot, God, on a lot of experiences in the early 60s when y'all was all together,
Right.
so that the younger generation, like myself, who is studying our history and things of that nature, can know the real story. So that there's other true brothers and sisters and true gods and earths who can know that there's people who have given their lives for their advancement, who have gave their lives and sacrificed for their, because there's no reason for me to do no wrong. I have to excel. I know and understand that I got to excel and sacrifice through education and righteous conduct.
Just like we're here, because we stood on the shoulders of others.
Right.
Okay? And you doing the same thing, okay? We stood on their shoulders, you're standing on our shoulders. You know? See?
And what's your name, brother?
My name is Rahiem.
Rahiem. Okay, and what was the experience? I'm gonna get right back to you, God. What was the experience in the early 60s, brother, when you first found out who you were as a black man?
It was a struggle. It was a struggle because it was something that you couldn't pronounce openly. But if you did it, then the authorities would come down on you immediately and very hard. Okay? And our main struggle at that time was to not only to find our identity, you understand, but to struggle against the administration, which was far more oppressive than it is today. It's still oppressive, but the oppression is in a subtle manner.
Right. Now.
It's very subtle.
Now it is.
It's very under the, it's there, but it's It's under a layer of superficiality.
Right.
Okay. And but during that time it was more overt. Okay. And we didn't have many people to stand up for. Only at that time it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. As far as we were concerned at that time, you know, and that's what the first thing we became a part of, because we see them, we see those brothers, that's standing up, you know, they standing up and they openly and physically resist the administration, the oppressive administration. Okay, so that's what attracted us first.
Okay, how did you go and meet this young man right here and whatnot? How did you first meet this young man?
I was born in 129th Street. He came along when he must have been about 8 or 9. About 8 or 9. About 8 or 9.
Okay.
Okay. And I had a fight with his cousin Marshall McNeil on 7th Avenue on 129th Street.
Yeah.
And they wanted to, and all them wanted, he had a big family.
Right.
And all them wanted to jump me, but after, I don't know what happened. But after that, man, we became beloved, man. This is my brother to the end, man. This is my comrade in arms. You know, two people can't be any closer, you understand, than he and I, although there are other brothers which make up a nucleus of us.
Yes, brother.
You know, and we are just as close. But I'm speaking of him being here right now. Okay, we went through the struggles.
So
together.
y'all, so this was the Blood Brothers? That's what it was?
No, we were never Blood Brothers. That's the name the press gave us. And they were being pejorative, they were being vilifying at that particular time. We didn't have a name. Okay?
So that's the real story. So Blood Brothers.
They did that to vilify us. They said that we took some kind of blood oath, which we never did.
Right. Thank you, brother, for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying. See, that's why I always have to go to the source. See that? See that?
Though, when we were younger, we used to do this here.
I mean, like the Indians, you know, we copied.
Yeah, I did that too.
We were influenced by moves, so we prick our fingers.
I did that with my best friend. I did that too.
Which is a dangerous practice today because they have so many fatal disorders going along in this society. But during that particular time, we were influenced by the movies.
Yes.
And, we always were on the Indian side, basically, because he was the oppressed.
Yes.
You know, so we copied off them. We pricked our
Cherokee.
fingers,
Yeah.
Okay, and we, you know, that's what we did. But as far as us having being under an umbrella of a particular name, no, that's incorrect. They did that to vilify us, man. You understand? To try to spur public opinion against us. That was all a misnomer.
Thank you, brother. Okay, now, Great God, what's the real story with the so-called Harlem Six? As you were saying that there was an incident that happened, right? And then what was the ramifications of the incident that happened?
Well, the incident, like I said, took place on 125th Street and 5th Avenue.
I interrupted, brother. There was another incident that put us in the light of the policemen that targeted us.
Oh,
the fruit stand.
Right.
The fruit stand, which is labeled the fruit stand riot. You understand? That's something that targeted us.
What about that?
Yeah, that's something that targeted us. And I wasn't there. I wasn't there at the initial action.
Right.
You were there, right? Yeah. Now you got that. You have to relate because this is an episode where we being trained in martial arts, we were able to defend ourselves. And in those days, you didn't fight the police. You understand? But these brothers, they stood toe-to-toe with the police. And when a group of young men do that at the time, a group of black young men do that at the time, you're going to be signaled out. So now you take it from there. That was it.
Thank you, brother.
I mean, we were young. We all came from school. Cooper Junior High School. And it was a fruit stand on, what was it?
129th. Right, Lennox Avenue and 129th Street.
Lennox Avenue and 129th Street. So the young, they being young, the fruit looking good, it's not snatching fruit. So the fruit man ran out there and thought, what y'all doing? And by them doing this, the police heard them. When the police heard them, we was on our way back into the block. And the police came back into the block of 129th Street. And the police ran over and started grabbing the little young brother and started hitting them with their stick. We saw this as we entered 129th Street. We turned around and see what the police was doing, ran back across the street, fighting the police, howling, yelling, leave them alone, leave them alone. We got over there and they turned around like they wanted to hit us. So we dispersed.
Started rumbling with them, okay?
I mean, we were together as we approached them, but when they came at us, we just broke off and started attacking them one-on-one. When they saw they couldn't do nothing with us, they panicked. Me, myself, I looked up. I looked down 129th Street towards 7th Avenue. I saw an ocean of people coming at me looking like aliens. Had on all this riot gear, had sticks longer than this pole here. Sticks longer than that pole.
It was known as the tactical squad at that time.
And they
Tactical squad.
running, yelling. I'm looking at, man, what the hell is these people? What's wrong with these people? Because we didn't do nothing. But now they want to attack us, so we started fighting them back. Out of all of us that were fighting, 2 brothers got caught.
3.
3,
Freddie Frazier,
right.
Wallace Baker, Daniel Ham.
Daniel Ham.
Also, there was an elderly Puerto Rican man who somehow participated in or got caught up in the action. Okay, and they also took him down to the precinct. There was also another man named Frank Stafford.
Right.
You understand? He knew us, and he tried to say something, and the police took out a punctured it, knocked out his eye with a nightstick. Okay, just plunged the nightstick this way, and I came completely out. Those 5 were taken to the precinct. Okay, the rest of the brothers weren't apprehended.
And why they, and later we learned, while they were in the precinct, they were handcuffed to the radiators and oranges were smashed in their face and they were spat upon by the police.
On top of a brutal beating.
And the radiators were turned on.
Okay.
And being that the radiators were turned on, the handcuffs got hot, they got hot, and the spit and the orange all in their face.
Beating, okay.
Calling them all kind of names.
Niggas go back to Africa, and we all gathered. I came after that.
Right.
After that, and we all got together, went up to the precinct and protested.
Right.
Okay. And,
Stood out in front of the precinct.
Stood out in front of the precinct.
135th Street precinct.
32nd precinct.
Stood out there crying because they had our brothers in the precinct, and we knew what they were doing to them.
Those were the 5 brothers that you just mentioned?
Yeah, 3 of us, of the younger brothers, and 2 older gentlemen.
How old was y'all at the time?
I was
I was about 16.
No. That was in April. So I just turned 18. I turned 18 in February. 18, let's say 18 to 19. 18 to 19.
No, I was 17.
Well, let me put it because I think Freddie Frazier was even younger. Let's say 16 to about 19. Because Freddie Frazier was 16 at the time.
Right.
Courageous young men.
And we stood out in front of the precinct, crying, snotty nose,
in the fight. Okay, ready to go,
standing
ready
our
to die.
karate stand,
Ready to die.
saying, let our brothers go. You can keep your, get rid of your guns. You can keep your nightstick and your knives. But come on out, your pump and your packet. We gonna beat your butt. I mean,
they start calling the reinforcements.
yeah, they called in reinforcements.
More reinforcements.
And bus loads of police
Bus
came.
loads, man.
I mean, I had never seen police this big in my life.
But that was a special squad, tactical.
I mean, it looked like police that they bred in the basement.
These guys all had to be 6 feet tall, and they had to be specially trained.
Yeah.
And they knew that we had been studying martial arts, so they had to be orientated also, okay? But even going back farther than that, they were assigned to patrol our block, 129th Street. They were assigned because they thought that was the hotbed, okay, of young brothers who were protesting the treatment by the police at that particular time, okay? So they were specially assigned to our block. Okay, anytime something happened, you know, the regular police, at that time they didn't have walkie-talkies. They had to go to the police phone that was most of the time located on lampposts or whatever, and they would call for the tactical squad, and they would rush. They didn't have to say, hey, what's happening, what. They knew exactly where to come at that particular time.
And
they had it right, and how to come. Right? And they came right to 129th Street. You know, there was a lot of things going on at that particular time. Anytime some kind of aggression toward white people occurred, they would always say that we were the perpetrators. Okay, did they make a difference? What? Real or imagined? Okay, we were the central figures to come after, the usual suspects. Okay, and so our block became a signal. Okay? Signal, all right? And we would give, being honest and being candid, we did give them a hard time.
Yeah.
Okay, because we saw the police as objects of hatred. Okay, because they were the arm, they were the active arm of the oppressor. Okay, so we did give them a hard time. Yes, we did. I admit that openly. Okay, but only in reaction to their action. Okay, we didn't want to precipitate anything. You understand? But this is how they act. They act aggressively toward us. You understand? And we talk about Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If somebody put their hand on you, you protect yourself. Okay, and this is what we did, and they didn't like that. Okay, this proved that.
And this is one of the brothers that taught me anything, or the first thing I knew about martial arts. I was coming from uptown, uptown 143rd Street one time, and I saw a young boy in the park being attacked. And I seen him going through all these moves. He looked good and great. I came down and I told him about it. He said, yeah, that's what you call a kata. And he started going through the move. Man, you got to show me that.
That's how I teach you.
And he started teaching me martial arts. I mean, I haven't stopped since that day.
Well, you see how I came in. Okay, see how I walked in here, man. But see, it was not a tool of aggression at that time. It was a tool of self-protection. We were being militated against by the police. So, you know, these young kids, they got these big, aggressive Neanderthal type individuals attacking us. You understand? And you know, a lot of times Muslims came around and taught us also. Now, the sugar incident on 125th Street, that was something also. That was the offshoot of the so-called fruit stand riot. You know, with these people, like these Hungarians had this second-hand clothing store, okay, and someone went in there and killed Mrs. Sugar, injured Mr. Sugar, okay, and forthwith, without undue haste, they came right to 129th Street, okay. They didn't look, you know, and they started picking us up, okay, and as a result of that, man, you know, we were convicted for murder in the first degree. Matter of fact, we missed the electric chair for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You missed the electric chair.
Yeah, because during that particular, am I talking to my time?
No, go ahead, man.
At that particular time, capital punishment was still in effect. Okay, and once we commenced trial in 1965, we picked the blue ribbon jury, and the blue ribbon jury only sit on capital case, crimes involving capital punishment. You know, 2 weeks into the trial, this is like March '65. The capital punishment was abolished in New York State. Consequently, we got convicted of murder in the first degree anyway. And had the chair not been abolished, there was no choice in the judge's sentence. Murder in the first degree, electric chair. There was no compromise, you understand? There was no arbitrary move that a judge could make. It was automatic, okay? So we were spared that and sentenced to, I'm quite certain we wouldn't have gone. They would have sent, I don't give a damn what the time was, not New York City, they wouldn't have sent 6 black kids to electric chair.
I mean,
I never felt that in my heart, man.
and at that time, we were so, I wouldn't say boosted up and yeast up, but we were so true to heart with one another that when they came to us and told us, y'all can get the electric chair, my reply was, so what? Con doesn't still have enough electricity for my house.
They were enraged at the almost lighthearted attitude we took towards that.
Good to see you, Bob. That's peace.
I guess maybe I don't know. And maybe we never believed it in our mind that we would get it, or maybe we were too young and naive to be fearful of it. You know what I'm saying? But our reaction toward the threats really enraged them. You know, well, you better do this, and you better say this, and you better say that. And no, I'm not saying anything, man. When you're going to the chair, well, I'll take the chair before I say anything against my brother. Okay? But most important...
And that was all of y'all stances.
Right. Yeah, that was all our stance. Yeah, that was our stance. That was our stance.
So that the commitment at that time to the teachings and to the brotherhood was very strong. It was wake up in the morning time, live it, breathe it, and that was it.
You can't tell me nothing about my brother or against my brother, or tell me my brother said this about me.
You know,
you can't even tell me that.
I don't want to hear that.
Because one thing we was aware of, that good cop, bad cop thing, and that thing about them saying, well, your friend said this about you, and he said that about you. We knew all that.
The same technique they use. The game hasn't changed. You understand? They still dictating their terms from the same book. You know, but a lot of guys tend to, I don't know, for whatever reasons. You understand? They fall for that. You understand? But at particular time,
because the morals, the principles are not.
I wasn't going for it. Willie Craig say that you did it. You did well. Listen. If Willie Craig says something, he know about it. Don't come to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got nothing. Well, you better say something against him. I'm not saying anything against that man.
Well, if he said it, he's a liar.
He's a liar. I'm not saying
I ain't did nothing.
I'm not saying anything about that man. Or we gonna kill you. We gonna beat you up. We gonna do. You know, we gonna do grievous harmful things to you. You just gonna have to do it, man. You just gonna have to do it. Okay? I have nothing to say about that man or any of them other brothers. All right? Nothing, man. Nothing at all. And this would really enrage that man. You know. But
so in that case, right, guards. In that case, did y'all beat the case?
No. We were convicted.
But see,
it was our own fault, basically.
This is what brought about the name the Harlem Six. Because with 6 young black men standing in the court of
in defiance.
In the Ku Klux Klan courtroom.
In defiance, man.
In the midst of Ku Klux Klan, telling them, man, kiss my butt.
In defiance, man. Laws, God, we don't get nothing about your justice, you understand? We don't recognize this court, we don't recognize y'all. I mean, in total defiance, you know? Yeah. And this brought a lot of attention to us.
Right.
This brought a
the media and all that.
You understand? So some prominent black leaders, you know.
It wasn't the media that named us the Harlem Six. It was groups within the community. Okay. Like at that time, you had the Panthers, you had...
No, I got you incorrect. It wasn't Panthers. Only people around were Elijah Muhammad. Now you had...
At that time.
You had the NAACP. You had the Mau Mau. Yeah. But and you had the NAACP who backed us for a short period of time and then pulled away. The Urban League, they were around, they backed us, but then they pulled away. You understand? Because the administration was able to convince them that we were racist white folks killers, okay? Right. And believe me, a lot of their sponsors are white folks, okay? So they initially got behind us, but then they pulled the same thing as Amsterdam News. One of the worst perpetrators of news coverage that painted us in this bleak picture was Amsterdam News.
Yeah.
Was the Amsterdam
So that means my man, the older brother who was the editor with the glasses and stuff like that, him? You know who I'm talking about too, with the glasses, the one that hooked that joint up. He did that?
Initially, I can't say factually, brother. I cannot say factually.
But nobody had a good word about
Nobody had a good word for it. Initially, they did, but after a while, you know, their opinions changed because they had a lot of administrative backing. Okay, and if you want us to keep this money flow, if you want us to keep putting our influence in back of you, you understand, then you all got to paint these kids in a different light.
And that's what happened.
That's what happened.
So they went right along with that.
So we didn't have much media backing. Okay, now eventually, after we got convicted and went upstate, it didn't die.
Yeah.
You understand? What really helped us and kind of changed my feeling toward white folks. Okay, I was very suspicious, very paranoid of white folks. I'm not gonna lie about that. I was very, my attitude was, you could almost say, somewhat negative. What changed my mind was a group of people called the Charter Group.
for a pledge of conscience.
Huh?
A charter group for a pledge of conscience.
A pledge of conscience. Now, these people didn't ask for a dime, okay? But they dedicated themselves into helping us. Now, these people were extended back to the 30s. Okay, in terms of struggle for equal rights, you know what I'm saying? For black folks, not equal rights, but the right that we supposed, ain't no equal right, the right that we supposed to have as being a part of this American society, okay? And they got behind our parents, and protested, organized, went to court, helped pay for lawyers, helped pay for little parties and things to raise not only capital, but community support for us, and that's one of the reasons we're here today, because of these group of people. They're very elderly right now, man. Not many of them around, and I've been remiss in even keeping in contact with them like I should have, because, like I said, it's one of the reasons why we're here today is because of the Charter. And I must give them praise.
And as you were saying earlier about the book in that bookstore, about the Jewish woman, she was one of the charter group for a pledge of conscience. She was one of them that brought that book out.
Annette Rubenstein, Edna Slackens, so many of them, man. I'm doing some of them disservice, not even remembering their name. But let me say it was even greater. Extension of us. When they put us in jail, that's the worst thing they could have done. Because we changed the penitentiary.
Yep.
See, we changed the penitentiary. Because there were no young Muslims in jail at that time. Okay? There was nobody in jail who had knowledge of themselves. Nobody, gangbusters and things like that. And we went in there and we changed it around. Stop eating pork. Acknowledge that law is God, you understand? Stand up, the black man is the original man, you understand? And that changed the whole jail system around. And a lot of brothers, they liked what they heard from us, they liked what they saw, the things that we did. And the penitentiary today is an offshoot of the actions that we put into it. Okay? Because that time, man, clubs were Trumps, and they held all of them. But we stood up and changed it, man. We changed it. Like even before, maybe in the 50s, another generation of black men changed the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? But in the 60s, we changed the penitentiary. We changed it, man.
Okay, now, from that extent, how many years y'all did? I mean, they sentenced all of y'all to.
Well, all of us originally were sentenced to natural life, but we went as a group of 6. Okay, so we all got natural life. During that time, murder in first degree, sentenced with natural life without any kind of consideration. So that meant you had to do 26 years and 8 months in order to see the parole board.
Before you were available.
Eligible for parole. That doesn't mean you were going to get parole. You were just eligible for parole. Okay? And we went upstate in 1965. They sent us to different prisons, but they didn't want us together. So together we would form a fist. So they sent us to prison throughout New York State. Auburn, Attica, Comstock. You went to Clinton. I went to Comstock. You and Wallace Bacon went to Clinton. Daniel Hand went to Auburn. I went to Comstock. Robert Rice went to Attica. and Walter Thomas went to Greenhaven. Okay, and that was in 1965. September 65, we went upstate. Okay, in December 1968, an appeal came through. And we all brought back down to New York City. You know what I'm saying? To face more trials. Okay? But at that time, there was a severance. They separated us in 3 groups. A group of 4 and 1 and 1. And that's how, you know, because of the version was based on that. All right, so
okay, now, so y'all did how many years out of that?
I did 8 years.
8 years. I got?
8. Walter Thomas did 8. He did 8. Walter Thomas did 8. Wallace Baker did 8. Robert Rice did 27. I think he did 27. Daniel Ham did, I think, either 12 or 15.
Okay, so it was based on the charter group that y'all all in your own conduct and stuff like that? That y'all did? It was based on your own conduct or the legal actions of the charter group that determined the different separate times?
The charter group worked for all of us.
Right.
When the reversal came back, 2 cases were severed from the 6. That means 4 of us went to trial together. You know, we had 2 more. The 4 of us went with the 2 more subsequent trials, each ending in a hung jury. That resulted in us getting bailed out. Okay. After a while, man, after 8 years of incarceration, the judge said he would reduce it to manslaughter 2 times served. Okay. We reluctantly accept that. I cried, but I really want to go back to trial.
Yeah.
I didn't.
But we took it.
We took it because you know,
our parents,
you know, had been our parents, beautiful people. All our parents stood by us all the way. They didn't waver 1 iota. Okay, and they were, and us being in the street on bail, and then having to think that we have to go back to court and subject them to that again. You know, that trials and tribulations of going through more harrowing trials. We took the plea. Okay, now, in the case of Daniel Ham and Robert Rice, both of them went to trial again. And both of them were reconvicted. Okay, but the fight never stopped. You know, charter group still hung in there, but their cases wasn't as easy as ours, because they were false statements in their cases. And those statements helped to get them reconvicted. And they were hard, and because of that, you know, their reversal, their appeal was a lot more difficult than ours.
Yes, sir. Okay, now, how did you meet this man, Allah? How did y'all come into contact with him?
Oh, I had knew him because
before that.
Right, his sister Bernice had a son and a daughter by the name of Claude and Gail, and they lived on 7th Avenue, and I knew Claude and Gail.
She's still up in the Bronx too. Gail is still in the Bronx.
I don't know.
I'll let you speak to her. I visit them all the time.
Who, Bernice?
Yeah.
Right. They was on 7th Avenue, and this is how I met him personally, before I knew anything about him being Allah.
But he was selling Muhammad Speaks. Muhammad Speaks. He's one of the Muslims who come in 129th Street. This is before we got arrested.
Right. And this is how I knew.
And you remember that too, brother.
Oh yeah.
We knew pretty well. Because all the Muslims, our block was a hotbed for nationalism, for black nationalism, and for Islam.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it was the centerpiece. That's why I said that, you know, it was the centerpiece. So we knew pretty long before that. Can I tell the story?
Go ahead.
Okay. But in 1965, we got a letter telling us of the father's transformation. He sent a brother to us that we know as Matthew Johnson, call him the Black Messiah. His picture's right out there now. Little Matthew Johnson. All right, he was about 16 years old, and that brother's composed left inside out, sideways, upside down. And the father sent him to jail for the purpose of giving us the teachings. Okay, that's how we got our first lessons. The brother called Matthew Johnson, right now called the Black Messiah. Okay, matter of fact, the father picture, the Aurora picture, and the side picture right out there right now. But he was grown then. He was grown then. But he was a little boy about this big. All right, with a heart of a lion. You understand? And many times he was just quoting court. The police was about ready to kill him, and he was on the square, and he called. I said, Messiah. I said, Matthew. Come on in there, man. Because you know they about to ring the ride squad on us, man. They, you know what I'm saying? But father sent him to 1965 to give us the can't think of what it was, man. But that's how we received the knowledge. Matthew through Messiah.
So what was the experience knowing Allah? What was the experience? What was that like?
Never met him personally after that. He was killed. He was killed while we were incarcerated. But at that time that we knew him, he was the father of Elijah Muhammad.
How was he at that? Tell me about that.
Oh, he was good, man. Listen, all the brothers that followed Elijah Muhammad, you understand, we almost idolized them, man.
And they knew that karate.
And they knew that martial art because he's one of the brothers who also instructed us in the martial art. All them are FOI, okay? And you know, you couldn't see a more beautiful sight at that time. I don't know about now. I see Muslims now. They don't affect it like they used to. But you couldn't see a more beautiful sight than a brother who was part of the FOI. Okay, I mean, that's who I wanted to be. Tall, proud, knowledgeable, and fearless. Okay, and fearless, man.
I mean, 4-5 police didn't have nothing on them.
Police didn't move them at all, man. If anybody stood up to the police at that particular time, I wanted to be like them and down what they were down with.
And that brother Oscar.
But be a brother Oscar, be brother Hassan, brother Ahmed, brother Abdullah, all these brothers, Yami, brother Yami, all these brothers with FOI. Brother, I'm stepping away for 1 second, okay?
So, your experience with Allah, what was? But so he was, even when he was in the mosque, he was a great brother.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a bad Muslim?
No.
And did Malcolm X expel Allah from the mosque?
I don't know nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
By that time, we were incarcerated. At that time, we were incarcerated, so I don't know nothing about that, but about him being a bad brother and all that.
Allah. No.
Being expelled, so he wasn't expelled from the mosque like people be saying.
Not to my knowledge. See, brother, like I say, I can't speak to it empirically because I was not there. We were all incarcerated. All we know is what was told to us, and we have to believe it or disbelieve it. We were not part of that at the time. Okay, we were not here. Okay?
Yeah.
But at that time, the mosque was breaking up anyway because Malcolm had gone one way, and Elijah was going in another direction. See, when Malcolm left the mosque, we left the mosque. Okay, because you know, we thought that our field was more aligned with Malcolm's than Elijah Muhammad's. Okay, and we were headquartered over here in the Teresa Hotel. Okay, and that's, you know, so.
And y'all had the meetings like 2 times a week?
2 times a week, yeah. And
Peace.
We had become so skilled in the martial arts that they would let us act as security. Even up at the Audubon, we would act as security at the Audubon. Matter of fact, we sat down just like you, Malcolm, just like we sitting here. Malcolm would sit there and talk to us and tell us, you know, tell us various things, man.
And you remember that experience?
I remember that. I remember that. You know, and what happened was, I'll tell you how that happened. We were all on the roof one day. Here comes a squad of policemen, right? They come upstairs and they want to question us about some incident that happened with some white people. So at first we were resistant, and then we said, well, you know what? It was on a Sunday. Them crackers can kill us up here, and nobody would never say anything. So we're gonna pretend to comply with them and go downstairs until we get in the street. And then we're gonna show them that we're not afraid of them, and we're not going to the precinct to undergo any kind of interrogation. So we got downstairs. Once we got downstairs, we're not going nowhere, man. Look at what you are. We're gonna call a riot squad. We're gonna call a tactical police. Listen, man, brother, my man, you do what you want to do. Okay, we are not going anywhere. Now, if you want to make us go, you can try to do that. So some followers from Malcolm overheard that. man, that's some bad brothers, man. Okay, that's some bad young brothers standing up to the police like that, right? So the police finally, as a matter of fact, they had younger brothers who weren't as old as we were and more intimidated by the police, had already gotten into the police cars. And we went over there and took them out the police. Man, open this door, man, let these little brothers out of here, Curly, brother, and them. And we took them out the police car. So as the brothers witnessed that, and the police decided not to pursue that situation anymore, because people were beginning to come out of church. Salem Church, Metropolitan Church.
And our parents
And somebody running around the corner and say, oh, you know, them kids in trouble. So our parents started coming down. So the police kind of panicked. Oh man, we better leave them boys alone. Yeah.
Peace,
So,
Queen, peace.
anyway, one of the brothers from Malcolm X was there. Well, matter of fact, there were 2, 3 brothers. And they invited us up to Audubon. And that night, Malcolm sat down and talked to us. Okay? And we told him our background, what we were about. Because a couple of the brothers had already had.
Peace, unique.
A couple of the brothers had already had exes. So they had been a part of the mosque. You know? So we told him that how we felt about Elijah Muhammad, how we felt about him. Okay? And you know. So we became a part of his organization. Okay.
That's
And
beautiful.
several times he sat down and talked to us. You know, things were going on. You know, he told us how to try to calm ourselves, do things in a different method. You understand? Try to control our rage. We were angry, man. There's no doubt about it. We were angry, man. We were upset at what was going on in Harlem, man. You know, we were fixing or trying to fix it.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. Best way you knew how, right?
By any means necessary. Okay? By any means necessary.
However it
Right
came
or
at
wrong,
you,
brother.
yeah.
Right or wrong, man. Right or wrong, man. Okay, by
And
any
the
means
thing that stuck out in my mind, all of that, the thing that stuck out in my mind was, we were sitting there in the Audubon, and we were on the
Stay.
stage, and all of us were there, even this guy, Robert Bond.
Robert Bond.
And
Treacherous snake.
Malcolm looked around, he said, y'all brother, know a snake.
No, it's not.
when
Like,
you
we see a snake. I remember. That's right. I almost forgot that.
He said,
That's
know
what he
a
said. That's
snake
right. That's right.
when
That's
you
when
see
you see
a
a snake.
snake.
You know a snake when you see it. You know, I forgot about that, brother.
And you know,
Malcolm called that. Malcolm called that from the shower. He didn't know us from Adam.
right.
Although we had seen him 100 times. You know what I'm saying? We had seen him many times, you know. But when you sat in front of him, he looked at us. He said, no snake when you see a snake.
Tell me, young brother, know a snake when you see a snake. It didn't dawn on us.
It didn't dawn on us. We being
But
naive.
when we went to trial,
yeah.
and Robert Bonds was the snake, it hit us
They
like
hit
a
us right
ton
then
of
and there.
bricks.
Right then and there.
Boom! Hit us to
Malcolm,
the top of the head.
The man was the wise
See,
man. The man
that
was the
brother
wise
saw
man.
that.
The man was the wise
See,
man.
he saw
He
it.
saw it. He saw it and predicted it. Okay, he was a wise man. Okay?
Know a
I got a lot of
snake
respect for that brother.
when you see a snake. I mean, people can say what they want to say about Malcolm, but Malcolm was a good brother.
Malcolm was good, but I love Malcolm, man. Malcolm
He
was a
had
good
a
brother.
heart of gold.
I love Malcolm, man. Okay.
He allowed us to come, I mean, none of us was registered.
Only two
of us
brothers
was
registered Muslims at the time. Okay.
Wallace Baker
And Robert Wright. Right.
They were registered. And all the rest of us wasn't. And when they called all registered Muslims stay, all non-registered leave, we refused to go.
We stayed.
We sat there.
We sat there. Malcolm did the same thing. You know? And he asked us to represent it because he knew our art was sharp. See, kids play basketball good, kids play baseball good, but I took to this real good. I learned, I just took the martial arts. That's something I do well. I did well. And my game is still pretty good. And a lot of other, but I wasn't even the best. Okay? So, because the FOI had trained us, them brothers had trained us hard and thoroughly. All right? Many days I went home beat up.
Hurt, sore,
and bloody.
Can't move.
My aunt used to say, leave them old men alone, they're gonna kill you. Okay? Them old men gonna kill you, but when you recruit soldiers for the army, who you want? 17, 18, and 19, and this was our age. Okay? And so
we would take potato sacks and nail them to the chimneys on the roof and would punch them.
all day
Until
long.
our
Bang,
feet-
bang, 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 bang.
Punch it,
All
kick it.
day long, man. Kick, punch, kick. Was all in my
And
mind.
then we come down off the roof, the homosexual was our topic.
Incorrectly so, to some extent, man. We want to be politically correct today, okay? But right or wrong, brother, and I'm gonna be confessing that a lot of things, like some things I regretfully state, okay, that I did, right, that we did. But peace, God. We found available people to practice it on.
Right.
Let's see if it really works. Okay, and being closed-minded at that time and not as aggressive as we could have been, we chose certain people to do it with. Okay, and it's not fun. I'm not laughing today, man. It's some of the things, okay?
I'm laughing,
but
because it was funny
right
to see them people running and screaming down the street.
a lot of people didn't even know what karate was. They would say, "Oh, black belt, black belt, black belt." You know what I'm saying? And anyway, we kept the community clean by that. You know, we were young. You know what I'm saying? And you wasn't coming into 129th Street and doing certain things. Because you had us to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like 5, 6 boys carrying pistols. No, it's 5, 6 boys, 5 to 6 of the 8 young kids knowing martial arts. Okay? And that's like, you know.
Bruce Lee wasn't out then.
Okay? But like I said, going back to what I'm saying, when they found out, well, some of the brothers who had taught us had also left the mosque with Malcolm split and told Malcolm about us. And said these brothers were well equipped to do security. They can do security. So sometimes when he left the other bomb, they would allow us to do security. We would do security also at the Three Hotel. Okay, that's what faith Malcolm had in us.
It made me feel good.
Made us be real good.
To be responsible for something like that at that time.
You know, and it's something you don't know what might have happened had we been there when the assassination took place. But we might have been doing security. You know, we might have been doing security at that particular time, man. I know, being fearless at that time, I would have reacted. And I'm not saying I was more fearless than anybody else. But we all had that same frame of mind. You know what might have gone down.
And the love we have for
Malcolm, okay?
So, the children, because we got 5 minutes right here. The children, what do y'all have to say for the next generation? The children, the adults, the young adults, in my age category on down to the children. What do you have to say, and what kind of work would you like us to do to improve our human families and other human families of the planet Earth?
We have to be more concentrated in our efforts, man. Right now, we are disunified. You understand? We have no central thought except trying to become rap artists or basketball players. And I think this is a dream that has been pushed into our minds to keep us from thinking what the real fight, real struggle is. Okay, we still haven't been fully given what we're supposed to have, what we're supposed to have. And we're being diversified and sent in a different direction to keep the concentration off the real struggle, man. And the struggle is, man, who we are, what we are about. Okay, in order to do that, man, we got to come together, not as a hand, but as a fist. Okay, and this is what we're not doing right now.
And get all the education.
Get all the education
you can get.
And stay and get education. Education is important. That's one of the best things ever happened to me. You understand? I was able to get me a considerable amount of education, okay, and really broaden my views of things. And education is important. But that's something nobody can take away from you. Okay, nobody can take it. They can take away your freedom. They can't take away your education. You see what I'm saying? And education enlightens you. Okay, not just only how yourself, but how the system works. And this is what you want to know: how the system works. Okay, because there's more ways to combat the system than physical. You can combat a lot of people who I hated because they didn't want to physically resist. I read about they resisted in the method that they knew how. Martin Luther King, the man gave his life, but I wasn't a pacifist at the time, so I resented him. We resented him. You understand? But in his own way, he struggled and he got a lot of stuff done. I even hated James Baldwin. I hated it. I cursed him out one time, bad on 127th or 119th one time. And I really hurt the man's feelings. But down the line, reading about him and seeing interviews on TV, the man hated what was going on. And in his own way, he struggled to make changes. You know what I'm saying? So the struggle don't have to be all physical. It can be religious, spiritual, or intellectual. But we all have to have that same aim in mind, same aim in mind, man. Coming together as black people, you understand, and trying to change the system. Because the system is still oppressive as far as we're concerned. It's just not as overt as it was 40, 50 years ago. It's still the same thing. It's still the same book, but a different chapter. Okay.
I got. What do you want the younger generation to know? What do you want the younger generation to know and stuff like that? Hey, brother, I want to take a picture with you. Hey, you can ready to go?
No, I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
I got a bad habit. I'm supposed to say.
Oh, okay. All right. I got what you want the younger generation, God? What you get all the education, stay with the knowledge yourself, be righteous.
And don't get tricked off into that gang thing, that blood and that grip. Be true to yourself, and above all, listen to your parents. Respect your parents, because you got knowledge, and you don't eat pig. Don't mean that you go in your house and disrespect your parents. They only giving you what they have to the best of their ability. Respect and love your parents. Just because you got knowledge, don't make you disrespect your parents. It should make you attract and respect them even more. Stay true to yourself and get all the knowledge and education you can get.
Yo, peace, God. Thank you very much.
Peace.